If there's one person in this world you should feel safe bringing your kids to, it's a doctor. Well, after hearing the story of Dr. Howard Schneider, you'll probably never leave your kids unattended with any medical professional ever again. On Creepshow, the show made by creeps for creeps about creeps and creepy things, we cover true crime and paranormal cases. If that's something you're interested in, or you just enjoy anything creepy and mysterious, subscribe. There's no shortage of evil in this world, but that doesn't mean we can't have some fun with it. Dr. Howard Schneider ran a modest dental practice out of Jacksonville, Florida since the 60s. At least, it appeared that way to outsiders. In reality, Howard was raking in millions, and you could hardly call his place of business a medical facility. Howard's practice was the only dental office in the area that accepted Medicaid as payment, making it the clinic of choice for low-income families or those who had fallen upon hard times. The Health Insurance Association of America describes Medicaid as a government insurance program for persons of all ages whose income and resources are insufficient to pay for health care. For over 50 years, Howard Schneider provided his community with low-cost options for their necessary dental work, and probably appeared to some as a hero. But behind the scenes, parents were starting to hear stories from their children about what occurred in the dental office. But of course, these stories were coming from kids who had to get teeth pulled by the big bad dentist. So for a while, the young voices went unheard. That would be until Brandy Fag Motley and her daughter Brielle would make a trip to Dr. Howard Schneider's practice for a routine cleaning and checkup. In December 2014, Brielle went in for her appointment, and everything went smoothly. Brandy was told that everything was growing in properly, and Brielle's mouth looked great. Wonderful news. So Brandy and Brielle went on their way, and about their lives. Until April 2015, when Brandy would receive a call from the 78-year-old dentist.
Brielle needs to come back ASAP. One tooth in the front is having problems coming out, and her adult tooth is poking out underneath.
Why the dentist would be examining her x-rays 5 months later seems like a bit of a mystery, but it'll probably make more sense when we learn a few more details. The following day, being a caring and concerned mother, Brandy brought Brielle back to the clinic. That's like a lot of B's.
You like jazz?
Brandy was informed her daughter needed immediate surgery, and when she tried to accompany her daughter back, she was told,
"The children behave better when their parents aren't around, so we don't allow parents into the operation area."
Unfortunately, Brandy was unaware that there were laws in place preventing exactly that. Of course, a parent has the right to accompany their child anywhere, unless it's like a child services interview, probably. Brandy sat in the waiting room for 3 long hours, getting up to pace and look into the window that overlooked the dental area, when finally a nurse came out and told her there had been an accident. Brandy walked in on a horrible scene.
That's when I see the blood. Blood on the floor and everything. Brielle was hyperventilating and she was face first on the floor.
Her daughter Brielle was laying there face down on the floor, crying, covered in bruises, scratches, and blood. She was told her daughter had been restrained to a board. They had left the room, and when they returned, she was laying there face down on the floor. Brandy angrily grabbed her daughter's hand and marched her straight out of the office to the car. And in the car, Brielle would remove the gauze from her mouth, revealing a horrible sight. Apparently, it wasn't only one tooth causing problems, because 7 of Brielle's front teeth were missing.
"Mommy, they're lying to you. The man threw and choked me while the lady sat on me."
Brandy could see the distress her daughter was in, and the physical signs of the abuse she had faced. She called the police, and they went straight to the emergency room. The police would meet her there and take a report. The doctors would conclude Brielle had a fractured nose and eye socket, as well as a handprint bruise around her neck. Not the normal numbness and bleeding you can expect after a dental procedure. Unfortunately, the police didn't seem to care. Brandy filed multiple reports and would not receive any support until she posted her story on Facebook in an attempt to shut down the man's practice, or at least damage his reputation. And she would learn Brielle wasn't the only child who suffered at the twisted, inhuman hands of this decrepit, senile monster. As her posts started to gain traction, more and more parents would come forward to Brandy and the police, with stories of choked children, missing teeth, poorly installed metal caps that would fall out in weeks, and beatings and blood. Over 130 children in total. And as of yet, nobody had reported anything. Or maybe they had, and nobody listened. Shireen Christopher would come forward, posting a video of her son strapped to a restraining board and crying. She asked the staff why they were being so rough, and was told since he was misbehaving, it's procedure. Zion, her son, needed one metal cap, but after the first, his mother received a call saying he needed more. By the time her son had 13 caps, Shireen stopped bringing her son back. Shireen only allowed it to continue as long as it did because he was literally the only affordable option in the area. And you're supposed to be able to trust medical professionals. Melissa Farrar's granddaughter Dixie started going to the Schneider dental office at the age of 3. At the end of one appointment, she came out with a mouthful of caps.
The caps kept falling off. We kept taking her back. She ended up with only 4 teeth left in her mouth. She could only eat soft food until her adult teeth started coming in to where she could hardly enjoy anything at all.
My son was only supposed to receive a filling and spacer. He left with a swollen, bruised face. Then the dentist came out and handed me a bag of several teeth and told me he did multiple fillings. He put in spacers and I was just completely shocked that why would you do that much work without saying something first?
Every single tooth that he worked on, we had to get redone. She's terrified of the dentist. She's extremely afraid. He said she had cavities, so he filled them up. A couple days later, she was claiming that they hurt. I took her back in. The cavities got infected.
So after parents came forward with stories of over 100 children being abused at his practice, the police had no choice but to listen. In 2015, after weeks of protest, Schneider voluntarily closed his clinic and renounced his right to practice dentistry, allowing him to avoid any kind of investigation from the dental board. It wouldn't be until November, though, 7 months after Brielle's story went public, that Howard Schneider would be arrested. Not due to the claims of child abuse, but for 11 counts of Medicaid provider fraud. You see, Medicaid provides payouts to those practices that utilize their services. Private practices have higher prices and more wealthy clients with their own insurance. As an incentive to provide the low-cost services Medicaid affords, anyone who allows patients to pay with it receive a large reimbursement. Meaning the more cavities, extractions, and fillings performed, the more money in Howard's pocket. Over the past 5 years alone, Howard Schneider had been able to collect nearly $4 million for himself personally from the government payment program. Good to know the government's money is so important. Not the literal hundreds of children suffering with physical and video proof. So attorney John Phillips took a stand, eventually taking on all 131 cases representing the families against Schneider. I'd assume it was pro bono too, because these are all low-income families. So if it was out of a sense of justice, then good on you, John. The most recent update I can find on the lawsuits is that 104 of the 131 cases had been settled so far, with payouts to the families, including the families of Zion and Brielle, but no admission of guilt of any kind. So essentially, the guy just paid back some of the money he had exploited out of these families in the first place.
Good on you.
Yikes.
Justice.
In fact, until the end, Howard's been confident he's done nothing wrong. Howard Schneider maintains the allegations against him are false and that giving up his medical practice was in no way an admission of guilt. He insists he used anesthesia and that he was a great dentist practicing for over 50 years. Good job.
We just had a few questions. Some people have said you strap down every patient.
We do not strap them. With the help of the parent, in a professional manner, and using a pedo board, we wrap them so they will not fall out and hurt themselves.
You were holding hand over mouth and plugging nose to keep them quiet, to get them...
We put the hand on the mouth and put the nostril thing on the hole, on the nose.
Is that to keep them from breathing?
No, so they can breathe.
Okay, so this wasn't a mechanism to make them not be able to breathe.
No.
Punishment.
I'm just getting down. I'm sorry, but you hit me real wrong. But go ahead. I'll go with you until I either... Now, we tell parents, be careful with the lips because they do this. And you can't stop. When you get a lip bite, you get a lip bite.
And that's a common thing in
That's a
dentistry.
common thing in pediatric dentistry. But we tell them.
As Schneider was put more into the public eye and made into a nationwide story, he was covered by Dateline NBC and other major news outlets. One of those stations was Action News Jacksonville. And during a pretty hilarious attempted interview, Howard rages at the cameraman, then drives up on someone's lawn at about 5 kilometers an hour, trying to run over the person filming. Apparently, this wasn't his first time trying to run over reporters either. The two that confronted him had actually been personally warned that he had tried to run over other reporters before. Also, I can't help but include this because it's so fun. During a protest outside his office, before he was shut down, some concerned mothers tried to beat the shit out of the feeble old wretch. But unfortunately, facing the families and the lawyer that represented them was all Howard had to do to be forgiven. Even though the police were so concerned with the Medicaid fraud and not the abuse of the dozens of children, even that case wouldn't be concluded in a satisfying way. Yes, Schneider could never practice again, but according to the state, because of Schneider's age and deteriorating mental condition, the charges were dropped. Apparently, if he regains competency, the state could try and reinstate the charges. But get real. Like that'll ever happen. I don't think he was ever really competent in the first place. Do you really think even if he is getting old and senile, he doesn't deserve to pay for what he did? I personally think he should have all his teeth ripped out without anesthetic, be strapped to his restraint board, and have every mother and child involved give him a nice haymaker to the face. And if because of his age he didn't make it out of that chair, I don't think that would be a great loss for the world. What do you think? Did Howard Schneider face justice and pay enough for his crimes? If you think that, I'm a little worried about you, to be honest, and you might be lucky enough to be featured on this channel someday. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. It's been covered by YouTubers like Gamer from Mars, who is a great internet historian that is highly professional in all he does. I would strongly recommend his channel. My own channel fits into a bit of a different niche than his, and I figured a lot of crime fans probably hadn't heard about this one. If you enjoyed the video, please like it so more people can see it. And if you're into cryptids, conspiracies, crime, and anything creepy, then please subscribe, and I'll do my best to keep the creeps coming. There's definitely not a shortage of them out there. Justice and peace for all.